I want to apologize, Diddy began, his voice barely above a whisper, not just to the president but to everyone who witnessed what happened in the Oval Office yesterday. The anchor leaned forward, sensing the gravity of the moment. Mr. Combs, can you tell us what led to this public confrontation with the president? Diddy closed his eyes for a moment, gathering his thoughts. It started when he asked me to kneel before him during our private meeting. He said it was about showing respect to the office of the president. The studio fell silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. I told him that I only kneel before God. Diddy continued, his voice growing stronger. He laughed at me. He said religion was for weak minds, that successful people like us were beyond such primitive thinking. The anchor's eyes widened. This was bigger than anyone had imagined. That's when I lost my temper, Diddy admitted, running his hand over his face. I said things I shouldn't have said. I questioned his faith, his values, his character. But sitting here now, I realize I was wrong. He paused, looking directly into the camera. The teachings of Jesus Christ tell us to love our enemies, to turn the other cheek, to forgive those who persecute us. I failed to live up to those teachings yesterday. The anchor shifted uncomfortably. So you're saying this confrontation was about religious differences? It was about so much more than that, Diddy replied. It was about the soul of our nation, about whether we still believe in something greater than ourselves, or if we've become so proud that we think we are gods. Social media exploded. Diddy's apology was trending within minutes. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. I want to publicly apologize to the president, Diddy said, his voice breaking slightly. Jesus taught us to humble ourselves, to admit our mistakes, to seek forgiveness. I should have done that in the Oval Office instead of letting my pride take over. The anchor pressed further. But surely you still believe you were right about the kneeling? Diddy nodded slowly. I do. I believe every human being has the right to their convictions, to their faith, to their relationship with God. But I also believe in treating others with respect, even when we disagree. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. What I did was unchristian. I let anger override love. I let pride override humility. That's not who I want to be. The phone lines at the studio were jammed. People were calling in, some supporting Diddy, others condemning him. The nation was divided, but everyone was listening. There's something else, Diddy said quietly, something I need to tell the American people about what really happened in that room. The anchor's heart raced. What do you mean? The president didn't just ask me to kneel once. He demanded it 3 times, and each time he said something that revealed his true feelings about faith, about God, about the people who believe. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. I'm going to tell you exactly what he said, word for word, because the American people deserve to know who their president really is. The anchor's hands were shaking as she held her notes. Mr. Combs, these are serious allegations. Are you prepared to stand by everything you're about to say? Diddy nodded gravely. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The American people have a right to know. He took a deep breath. When the president first asked me to kneel, I thought he was joking. I actually laughed. But his face was stone cold serious. What exactly did he say? The anchor asked. He said, Mr. Combs, I need you to understand something. In this office, I am the highest authority. Your God doesn't exist here. Only power exists here, and I have it. The anchor's jaw dropped. He said that word for word? Diddy confirmed. I told him I respected his office, but I couldn't kneel to any human being. That's when he got angry. The studio phone was ringing nonstop. The producer was frantically signaling to keep the cameras rolling. He stood up from behind his desk and walked over to me. Diddy continued. He said, let me explain something to you about your precious Jesus. He was a fraud, a con man who got weak people to follow him, just like modern politicians do. The anchor gasped. He said Jesus was a fraud? He said worse than that, Diddy replied, his voice heavy with sadness. He said that religion was a tool to control the masses. That intelligent people like us knew better, and that anyone who still believed in God in the 21st century was either stupid or lying. Across the country, people were glued to their screens. Churches were calling emergency meetings. The White House communications team was in full panic mode. That's when I asked him about his own faith, Diddy said. He had claimed to be a Christian during his campaign. He went to church. He quoted scripture. He talked about his faith. What did he say to that? Diddy looked directly into the camera. He laughed. He said, you think I actually believe that garbage? I say whatever I need to say to get votes. The American people are sheep. They want to be told what to believe. The anchor was struggling to maintain her composure. Mr. Combs, if this is true, This is. It gets worse, Diddy interrupted. He then said something that made me realize why he really wanted me to kneel. The tension in the studio was unbearable. Even the crew had stopped working to listen. He said, I want you to kneel because I want you to understand that your God failed you. He couldn't stop me from becoming president. He couldn't stop me from having power over you. And he won't stop me from doing whatever I want with this country. The anchor was speechless. The implications were staggering. That's when I lost it, Diddy admitted. I started yelling at him about his hypocrisy, about lying to the American people, about mocking their faith. I called him things I shouldn't have called him. He paused, wiping his eyes. But even in my anger, even in my disgust, I should have remembered what Jesus taught us. He was mocked, he was ridiculed, he was tortured, and he still forgave his enemies. The anchor finally found her voice. Mr. Combs, you realize what you're claiming here? You're saying the President of the United States is. I'm saying the President lied to the American people about who he really is, Diddy said firmly, and I'm saying that I should have responded with love, not hate. That's what Jesus would have done. The studio erupted in chaos as phones rang and producers shouted instructions, but Diddy sat calmly in his chair, waiting for the next question. There's more, he said quietly. He made me a deal in that room, a deal that would have made me even more powerful in the entertainment industry than I already am, but it came with a price. The anchor leaned forward, her voice barely audible. What kind of deal? Diddy's eyes were distant, as if he was reliving the moment. He offered me unlimited government influence and media regulation. He said he could make me the most powerful person in entertainment, second only to him. What did he want in return? He wanted me to publicly renounce my faith. He wanted me to go on television and tell the American people that I had been foolish to believe in God, that success and power were the only truth that mattered. The anchor's pen dropped from her hand. He asked you to renounce your faith? He said it would be easy. Diddy continued. He said most successful people were already atheists anyway. They just pretended to believe for public relations. He said I could be honest about it and still be successful. The studio was in complete chaos now. Producers were running around. Phones were ringing off the hook, and the anchor was trying to maintain control. He showed me a contract, Diddy said, pulling out his phone. I recorded part of our conversation. I want the American people to hear it. The anchor's eyes went wide. You recorded the president? I always record important meetings, Diddy replied. It's legal in D.C. as long as one party consents. And I'm consenting now. He held up his phone. Should I play it? The anchor looked at her producer, who was frantically nodding yes. Please, play it. The audio was crystal clear. The president's voice filled the studio. Sean, you're a smart man. You know there's no God. You know religion is just a fairy tale for children. Why don't you just admit it publicly? Think about what I could do for your companies. Think about the contracts, the media deals, the regulatory breaks. Diddy's voice responded, I can't do that. My faith is real. Jesus is real. And I won't lie to the American people. The president's voice turned cold. Then you're a fool. And fools don't get to play in my administration. The recording ended. The studio was silent except for the sound of phones ringing. There's more, Diddy said quietly. He told me about his plans for people of faith in America. The anchor was trembling. What plans? He said that religious people were a threat to progress. He said that Christianity was holding America back from becoming a truly modern nation. He said that if he could eliminate religion from public life, he could turn America into a technocracy. A technocracy? A society ruled by experts, by scientists, by people like us, Diddy explained. He said democracy was too messy, that religious people asked too many questions about morality and ethics. He said it would be easier to govern if people just trusted the experts. The anchor was struggling to process what she was hearing. Did he say how he planned to do this? Diddy nodded grimly. He said he was already working on it. New regulations for churches, new tax rules for religious organizations, new restrictions on religious speech. He said he was going to make it so difficult to be openly religious that most people would just give up. The phone lines were completely jammed now. The network's website had crashed from too much traffic. Social media was exploding with reactions. But here's the thing, Diddy said, his voice growing stronger. Even after hearing all of this, even after seeing his true face, I still believe in forgiveness. I still believe in love. I still believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ. He looked directly into the camera. Mr. President, if you're watching this, I forgive you. I forgive you for lying to the American people. I forgive you for mocking their faith. I forgive you for trying to corrupt me with power and money. The anchor was crying now. Mr. Combs, aren't you afraid of what might happen to you after this? Diddy smiled sadly. Jesus said, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." I'm not afraid. He paused, then added, "But I am concerned about what this means for our country." Within hours of the broadcast, America was in chaos. Churches across the country were packed with people praying. Protesters gathered outside the White House. The stock market plunged as investors panicked about political instability. Diddy sat in his hotel room watching the news coverage. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing since he left the studio. Reporters, politicians, religious leaders, and ordinary citizens were all trying to reach him. There was a knock at his door. He opened it to find two Secret Service agents. "Mr. Combs, the president would like to see you," one of them said. Diddy nodded. "I'll come willingly." The ride to the White House was silent. Diddy prayed quietly, asking God for strength and wisdom. He knew this meeting could change everything. The president was waiting in the Oval Office. His face was calm, but his eyes were filled with rage. "You've made a big mistake," he said without preamble. "I told the truth," Diddy replied simply. "Your truth is going to destroy this country," he said, pacing behind his desk. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Churches are calling for my impeachment. My own party is turning against me. The international community thinks America has lost its mind." Diddy sat down in the same chair where this had all started. Maybe America needed to hear the truth. "The truth?" The president laughed bitterly. "The truth is that I've been the most effective president in decades. I've grown the economy. I've reduced unemployment. I've strengthened our military. And you're going to destroy all of that because of your imaginary friend." "Jesus isn't imaginary," Diddy said quietly. "He's more real than anything in this room." The president slammed his hand on the desk. "Prove it. If your God is so real, if he's so powerful, then why didn't he stop you from coming here? Why didn't he protect you from me?" Diddy looked at him with compassion. "Maybe he did. Maybe he brought me here to help you." "Help me?" he scoffed. "You've ruined me." "I've given you a chance to tell the truth," Diddy said. "You could go on television tonight and admit that you lied during your campaign. You could ask the American people for forgiveness. You could step down and let someone who actually believes in this country's values take over." The president stared at him in disbelief. "You're insane if you think I'm going to do that." "Then what are you going to do?" Diddy asked. He walked to the window and looked out at the protesters gathering on the White House lawn. "I'm going to fight. I'm going to use every tool at my disposal to destroy you. I'm going to make sure that no one believes a word you said." He turned back to him with a cold smile. "I'm going to declare a national emergency. I'm going to say that religious extremists are threatening national security. I'm going to round up the leaders of the Christian churches and arrest them for sedition." Diddy's blood ran cold. "You can't do that. The Constitution." "The Constitution is just a piece of paper," he said. "I have the military. I have the FBI. I have the CIA. I have power. Your God has nothing." "You're wrong," Diddy said, standing up. "You're making the same mistake that every tyrant in history has made. You think power comes from fear, but real power comes from love. You think you can defeat God, but you can't even defeat the love that people have for him." The president walked up to him, his face inches from Diddy's. "Watch me." As Diddy was escorted out of the White House, he saw the crowds of protesters growing larger. People were holding signs that read, "We believe and God bless America." They were singing hymns and praying together. He realized that something had changed in America. The president's mask had been removed, and people were seeing the truth. The question was, what would they do about it? The next morning, Diddy woke up to find his hotel surrounded by FBI agents. They had a warrant for his arrest on charges of disturbing the peace and inciting religious violence. As they led him away in handcuffs, crowds of supporters gathered. They were singing Amazing Grace and holding signs that read, "Truth is not a crime." But something unprecedented was happening across America. Pastors who had been arrested were being released by local police who refused to follow federal orders. Governors were declaring that they would not enforce the president's emergency orders. Military commanders were quietly indicating that they would not participate in any action against religious civilians. Diddy was taken to a federal courthouse where he was surprised to find that his lawyer was already waiting for him. "How did you get here so fast?" Diddy asked. "I've been retained by a group of anonymous donors," the lawyer replied. "They want to make sure you have the best possible defense." The courtroom was packed with supporters. When Diddy entered, the entire gallery stood up. The judge had to bang his gavel repeatedly to restore order. "Your Honor," Diddy's lawyer began, My client is charged with disturbing the peace for telling the truth about a conversation he had with the president. He is charged with inciting violence for reading from the Bible. This is exactly the kind of religious persecution that our founders fought against. The federal prosecutor stood up. Your Honor, the defendant's statements have caused nationwide riots. Churches are refusing to pay taxes. Religious groups are openly defying federal law. This is a clear case of sedition. Sedition? Diddy's lawyer shot back. The only sedition here is a president who lied to the American people about his beliefs and is now trying to silence anyone who exposes his lies. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel furiously. I want to make a statement, Diddy said, standing up. Sit down, the judge ordered. Your Honor, I have a right to speak, Diddy insisted. The judge looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. You have 5 minutes. Diddy turned to face the packed courtroom. I'm not here because I broke any law. I'm here because I told the truth about what the president said to me. I'm here because I refuse to kneel to anyone but God. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. The president wants to arrest me for my faith. He wants to arrest pastors for their faith. He wants to arrest anyone who believes in something greater than government power. He paused, looking around the room. But here's what he doesn't understand. You can arrest me, but you can't arrest the truth. You can shut down churches, but you can't shut down faith. You can try to silence God, but God's voice will always be heard. The crowd erupted in applause. The judge banged his gavel, but the applause continued. I'm not afraid of going to prison, Diddy continued. I'm not afraid of losing everything I've built, because I know that Jesus Christ is with me, and He's with all of you. He turned to look directly at the judge. Your Honor, I'm guilty of believing in God. I'm guilty of telling the truth. I'm guilty of refusing to bow down to human authority when it conflicts with God's authority. If that's a crime in America, then I'm proud to be a criminal. The courtroom was in chaos now. People were crying, praying, and cheering. The judge was trying to restore order, but it was hopeless. That's when the unexpected happened. The federal prosecutor stood up and said, Your Honor, I'd like to request a recess to confer with my superiors. During the recess, news broke that shocked the nation. The Attorney General had resigned. The Secretary of Defense had resigned. 3 Supreme Court justices had issued a joint statement saying they would not uphold any law that violated religious freedom. The president was facing a constitutional crisis. The government was in open rebellion against his orders. When court resumed, the federal prosecutor made an announcement that no one saw coming. Your Honor, the Department of Justice is dropping all charges against Mr. Combs. The courtroom exploded in celebration, but Diddy knew this was just the beginning. The real battle was about to start.